How do you do? My name is Alfred Hitchcock, and I would like to tell you about our good friends, the birds.
That's the damnedest thing I ever saw.
Birds just don't go around attacking people without no reason.
Yes, they attack the children. Attack them.
What's the matter with all the birds?
Birds are not aggressive creatures, miss. They bring beauty into the world.
Those gulls attack.
Impossible.
They came in right down the chimney.
Why are they doing things?
It's the end of the world.
Are the birds gonna eat us, Mommy?
Get yourselves guns and wipe them off the face of the earth.
That would hardly be possible.
Mitch, don't!
The 5 continents of the world contain more than 100 billion birds.
All at once, the birds were everywhere.
Why don't you all go home? Lock your doors and windows. Did you get the windows in the attic? When do you think they'll come? What happens when you run out of wood?
I don't know.
You don't know? When will you know? When we're all dead!
They're coming! They're coming!
Hello, my fellow cinematic architects, and welcome to Remake This Movie Right. We are a member of the Hollywood Outsider Network. Listen to episodes of Remake This Movie Right on Apple Podcasts. They changed their name. Where reviews are appreciated. Your podcast app of choice, or just visit the website at remakethismovieright.com. Remake This Movie Right is a show that takes an original film that has an actual remake in the works. This one's been in the works forever. Figure out what still clicks and what doesn't, throw a little bit of humor at it, and then we determine exactly how Hollywood should remake it. So by the end of each episode, we will have the remake ready to roll for Hollywood execs and presented to you in movie trailer form. We are here to tell Hollywood how to remake this movie right. I am your host, Aaron Peterson, and joining me today, you might remember him from our most recent episode on The Matrix, as well as Men in Black and Spider-Man, Zach Parkerson.
Well, hello, Aaron. Glad to be back. There's no Birds comic.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure.
I don't know about that. That is a stipulation to your contract. There has to be a comic based on this, so you might be ejected if we don't like your plan. It's possible.
I'll contact Marvel, have them get right on it.
Oh, I'm sure Marvel would probably make a fantastic movie. It'd be joyous. They'd make the fun version of the Birds. And you know her as she who believes Nathan Fillion is the only actor that should be working today. You might remember her from Pet Sematary, I Know What You Did Last Summer, and Wild Wild West. Amanda Sink.
Hello, hello.
That is your thing, right? Hello,
it
hello.
Is. Yeah, just saying hello. Nice. It's greeting to both of you.
Wicca, wicca. Every time I see Wild Wild West now, all I ever hear is wicca, wicca, Wild Wild West. Anyway,
it's a good jam. I don't know if it fits in here though.
If Wayne could rap whatever movie we come up with to Wild Wild West, I think that could be fantastic.
I think we should try it.
I don't think so at all. This is Alfred Hitchcock, and he is sacred to me. So for this episode, if you haven't figured it out yet, we are remaking Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. For the purposes of this podcast, we will be ignoring that awful sequel, Birds 2: Land's End.
It's like a straight-to-TV thing?
Yeah, I saw it. I remember seeing it because I hate myself, and it wasn't good. It was not good. Tippi Hedren's even, she does a cameo.
Yeah, I think she's quoted as saying it was a major embarrassment on her career.
Well, she doesn't need that. I mean, to each their own. Got to pay the bills. Light's not going to pay for itself. I understand. Sometimes you do things, but man, that was probably the most disappointing part of the movie. The movie's awful, and then she shows up, and it's not even the same character. She just is there.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Which
30 years after the fact.
That's like breaking 5 walls. I can't do it. There's just too many things. Same actress, different character, same world. I don't get it. I can't do it.
Yeah. You don't want to mess with that hot Birds lore, the established universe.
Exactly. Because they're going to end up making a cinematic universe at some point. And The Birds, if you haven't seen it before, well, shame on you. Seriously, look in the mirror and slap yourself. You should watch this movie ASAP. It follows Melanie Daniels, who's played by Tippi Hedren. And she's a rich San Franciscan socialite who loves to live in the moment. And the latest moment leads her to Bodega Bay, California, a small town that slowly finds itself under attack by a swarm of just about every species of birds. It starred Tippi Hedren, like I said, Suzanne Pleshette, Rod Taylor, Jessica Tandy, and Veronica Cartwright. It's an all-star cast. And like I said earlier, it is an Alfred Hitchcock film. Now, here's what I want to ask you guys, okay? I don't think either one of you were alive when this came out.
Yeah, no.
I'll check the records.
No, I'm going to save you because I wasn't alive, and I know I'm older than both of you. So I can't imagine you would be unless you have a DeLorean. So let's start with, who wants to go first? First reactions to seeing this film. What'd you think? Where were you? Were you a toddler? What? Amanda.
I was pretty young, I can tell you that. I do remember watching Hitchcock films throughout my childhood, though, and pretty much everything that he did put me in awe. It's also part of my family, Hitchcock films in general, and this is...
Should be part of every family. Every family.
So shame on everybody who's listening and has no idea what we're talking about.
I'm serious. Look in the mirror and slap yourself.
3 times.
Mm-hmm. We're not sadists here at Remake This Movie Right. Once is fine.
I don't know if it's sufficient. So I remember enjoying it. I remember being in awe. And I remember just the experience, the bonding experience with my family watching it. And I think that's probably one of the best parts, the memories that I have associated with it. Everything about how Hitchcock does his filmmaking impresses me. And it's something that stays throughout time. So even when you go back and you look at a film later on in life, it's not something that ever changes in terms of can it hold up? And we'll talk about that later. But for me, it's a film that always holds together. And
you're right.
I am.
Zach, what about you?
So I was so young. It was a vague memory seeing The Birds. I remember liking it. I remember it being black and white, and that's clearly wrong.
That is clearly wrong. Yeah.
I learned it when I watched it for this show. I was like, "Oh man, did they recolor? That's so crazy." No, turns out kids don't remember anything.
That's funny.
Yeah, I remember liking it. You know, nothing crazy.
Did rewatching it bring back anything, or just did it actually improve or devolve? Which way did it go for you?
The movie?
Yeah, was it better?
I remember
well, it's in color
respecting
this
it.
time.
Yeah, color automatically helps, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I remember always respecting it because I think I was raised to respect it. So, rewatching it, I was like, that's still a great film. The rental service they have you rated afterwards, I give it 5 stars. It's a really good movie. It's a nice thriller.
Yeah, it is. I remember watching it as a kid. My mother's actually terrified of birds, and she was attacked.
Was it because of this movie?
No, it's actually not. She was actually attacked by a bird as a kid, I think, if I remember correctly. And she was just so frightened of birds, and also loved Alfred Hitchcock. So therefore, we still had to watch it. But she was obviously more terrified of it than I was. But I found it to be, I was always a very appreciative fan of Alfred Hitchcock. Every one of his movies, I feel, is unique in its own way. Unlike a lot of directors today, when you look at like a Christopher Nolan or Steven Spielberg and those kinds of directors, I feel like most of their films have a similar vibe. And Alfred Hitchcock, to me anyway, and that's probably because it's my favorite director of all time, his movies feel like individuals. Like they feel similar in the kind of story they're telling, but each one of them has a completely different kind of story in direct relation to the plot that feels different. So it always feels like something different, something unique. He's got espionage thrillers, and he's got murder mysteries and sex mysteries and serial killers. And yeah. And I actually just watched Marnie, which was Tippi Hedren's other movie with him. And that's a whacked out movie. I mean, they're despicable people, and you end up sympathizing with them. So, there's a lot of variance to his work, and The Birds is one that it always stuck with me. Not as much as Rear Window and Psycho. Those are my 2 other preferred movies. Like if I had to pick, Birds would probably be like 3rd or 4th, but it's still up there. It's a movie that always stayed with me. And I loved how they shot it. Like to this day, when you look at it, it still works. And it's 60 years ago, whatever. I mean, almost 60 years old. And the special effects, probably cheaply done as it would be. Now you could see that on Sci-Fi or Sci-Fi. I don't know what
that would look bad on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, it would. But the way it was shot, because it had a mixture of live birds and animated birds, it really worked. I think it really worked. And you've got that shot where the birds are slowly growing on the playground. And it's like, whoa. That still works to this day. I mean, that stuff got me as a kid, and it gets me now. I could talk about this movie forever. Okay.
You sound very energetic.
I love it. Love it.
So much passion.
Are you anticipating the upcoming Hitchcock cinematic universe?
I am, where they're all connected. They're all connected. We're going to have Mitch, and we're going to have Norman Bates, and they're all gonna be in the same world. It'll be fun.
The birds are possessed by the spirit of Norman Bates.
Ooh, and when they're escaping the birds, they pull over at the Bates Motel. Meanwhile, across the street, some dude's got some like telescopic lens watching everything they do, so you can connect it all. All right. Well, please subscribe and review us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, whatever podcast app you use. If you have your own pitch or thoughts on this week's show, email us remakethismovieright@gmail.com. That's remakethismovieright@gmail.com. Before we get into our original thoughts and the remake thoughts, here is a clip from the original, The Birds.
Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? They said when you got here the whole thing started. Who are you? What are you? Where did you come from? I think you're the cause of all this. I think you're evil! Evil!
That's right, the original The Birds. It was not a clip from Land's End. We're just going to ignore that entire movie. It did not happen.
What about, is it from the movie Bats?
Or
do you remember Bats?
I do. Yeah.
It's like it was just this movie with bats instead of birds.
Yeah, but that's different.
Because they're bats.
And then they made Willard, which was about rats. So it's basically every
about Willard.
Nature's basically every movie is a derivative of The Birds is the way I look at it. Anything where you have nature coming at you, except for the giant ant movies like Them, because that doesn't count. That was science fiction. Okay, I just went way off. All right, some trivia on The Birds. Daphne du Maurier's novella, on which the film was based, was originally published in a 1952 issue of Good Housekeeping magazine. Hitchcock had adapted two previous films from du Maurier's work, 1939's Jamaica Inn and 1940 Best Picture Oscar winner Rebecca. I should always also point out, every chance I get, Alfred Hitchcock never won Best Director.
It's a shame.
It's a crime. It's a crime against man.
Yeah, he's all right.
You know what? We can just read.
You know, the Wachowskis haven't won one either, yeah. So artists get robbed.
I sure hope they get one soon. God knows they've earned it. All right. After the huge success of Psycho in 1960, it was reported that Hitchcock was given his biggest budget yet to make The Birds, $3.3 million. Think about that. In today's dollars, somebody would give him like $200 million to make this movie. Probably.
Sure. Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
3.3 million.
That's a lot of money.
That was a lot back then. That's actually kind of a lot now, really. That's
what did it do at the box office? Do you know?
And there's some discrepancy over how much the budget was. Some say $2.5 million, some say $3.3 million. That's why I say reported budget. So it's one of those. Don't write a letter.
Marketing costs.
There you go. Marketing costs. And it made, to answer your question, Zach, it made $11.4 million at the box office, which really doesn't sound like a lot, but I bet back then it was a bunch of money.
It's like James Cameron Avatar kind of money.
I think so. It was the biggest grossing movie of all time until the next year. All right, moving on. Tippi Hedren said the phone booth was supposed to be made of shatterproof glass, but when the fake seagull came down the wire and crashed into it, glass exploded all over her. What?
Yeah, she really went through hell for this thing, huh?
She did. You want to hear a story about the hell she went through?
Let's hear it.
Because
she's going to reflect poorly on Hitchcock?
No, not really. It's not going to be like they had a rough, tumultuous relationship, it seems, when it got to Marnie and whatnot. I don't really want to get into that because that's all speculation and gossip. But this actually supposedly happened. This literally actually maybe supposedly happened. Exactly.
That's AKA gossip.
Pretty possible this happened. Birds were held to Tippi by rubber bands hooked through her dress. Nearing exhaustion and after being scratched close to her eye even, toward the end of filming, Hedren was pulled off the birds herself and said, "That's enough." The actress said she didn't remember driving home that night or getting back to the set the next day. She fell asleep. When the makeup man came in, he couldn't wake her. She was suffering from exhaustion, and Tippi had to spend several days in the hospital, probably because her name is Tippi. That's just a weird name, and that would just make me tired, too.
Strange name.
The scene with Rod Taylor carrying Melanie downstairs after the attack is actually not Hedren, but rather a double.
Weird. She refused to let herself be carried by a man.
I don't think that's what it was, but, it's the 60s. She was rebellious. You never know.
Yeah. She's really good, by the way.
She's really good?
Yeah.
I don't know what.
In what respect are we talking here?
In her prowess as an actress.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Not in being carried.
Okay, just checking.
She's pretty terrible at that.
She was, obviously. She can't even do it. And she's great in Marnie, too. If you haven't seen Marnie, she's really good in Marnie, too. So
I have not seen Marnie.
That's a really creepy-ass movie, but she's good in it. Hitchcock initially, this is true, okay? And I kind of feel sad for her, for Tippi Hedren. Tippi. Okay. On 2 counts. One, named Tippi. I'm sure that it can't be fun in school. But Hitchcock initially wanted his 1950s leading lady, Grace Kelly, for the role of Melanie Daniels. But after she married Prince Rainier of Monaco in 1956, she retired from acting and declined all offers to return to Hollywood. Also, another fun fact, his next film, Marnie, was supposed to be Grace Kelly's return to acting, and then she bowed out, which led Hitchcock to cast, you guessed it, Tippi Hedren.
So she's basically second choice.
Both times. I feel, and she's great.
And she went through some torture, too.
Yeah, man. She almost lost an eye. Come on.
Give the girl a break.
She's no Grace Kelly.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Shots fired.
You know what? She's probably felt that way her whole life, so thanks for rubbing it in some more.
I would say she is almost as good as Grace Kelly, not quite, but if you don't have Grace Kelly, she can do in a pinch.
Clearly that's what he thought, too.
Apparently, that's where he was leaning. You and Hitch, you're running side by side.
Yeah, we go way back.
Rather than a conventional music score, the film soundtrack consisted of a mix of bird calls and electronic noises from a proto-synthesizer called a tritonium. It's an electronic instrument Hitchcock had first heard on the radio in Berlin in the 1920s. I guess
weird guy.
When they were preparing for Nazis.
It's quite a memory he's got there.
Well, back then it was only 40 years, right? So that's not too far.
No, it's 40 years. If I remember something 40 years later, that's crazy.
I can remember. Because I'm in my 40s and I remember stuff from the womb. So Hitchcock had hired legendary Disney animator Ub Works. I said that horrible. I butchered that guy's name. To create scenes blending real birds with animated swarms. The final shot of the film, with the characters driving away from Bodega Bay as they're watched by a flock of birds, was actually one of the film's typical tricky scenes. It combined live birds, animated birds, and puppet birds, along with the moving car headed toward a detailed matte painting as a backdrop. Hitchcock recalled that the shot was a composite that blended 32 separate exposures, calling it the most difficult single shot I've ever done. That's
talent.
It's a beautiful shot.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful shot.
That's a great shot. Yeah.
2 more, and then we'll move on. But this is a movie where you got to throw as much trivia out as you can. I think it's a classic.
They've had 50 years to find trivia.
And they still didn't find out with anything too cool. Like nothing salacious. I would like something salacious, but I couldn't find it.
You just want to use the word.
I really did. I've got it written down. Salacious. I probably spelled it wrong. But the head bird trainer, Ray Berwick, was described as a cowboy with birds. Yeehaw. The individually trained birds could never be released as they had been trained to do bad things.
That's quite the motivation for the workplace.
Birds were often, listen, there's more. Birds were often tied to people and meat was put near the camera lenses to get seagulls to fly at the camera. The ASPCA was on set every day in an aviary set up to treat injured birds. For scenes with the birds in the house, the entire house was netted to keep the birds from flying away because they can't be released.
Maybe CG is okay sometimes.
I think today they would do it all in CGI.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah.
That's kind of terrifying when you think about it.
Which respect?
When you're the actress or actor on set, or even camera crew, or you're the director, and having animals around you that are trained to injure.
To attack.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I'll get paid some mediocre dollar for this.
Might give you a breakdown. Maybe say, I don't want to be carried down some steps. Maybe. In theory. Last one, there was one alternate ending featured the Golden Gate Bridge covered in birds. That didn't happen. But the original ending had the car driving away, seeing the town in ruins with dead birds everywhere, cars in flames, and a final attack on the car before Melanie and Mitch actually got away. Screenplay writer Evan Hunter said it would have taken a month to film that version.
Wow.
So apparently they didn't have any more money. Probably because they had to pay for Tippi's hospital bills.
Probably.
So the original concept was the birds was everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because isn't like the radio says it's just Bodega Bay, right?
And a couple other spots, like it had hit a couple other spots, but it wasn't everywhere. Correct.
It's not a bird apocalypse.
It should have been. It should have been like the bird flu.
Well, when they reboot it into a limited Amazon series, I'm sure it will be.
You know it will be. All right, let's get in. We're already into the original. So what makes this movie so notable? Zach?
Rewatching it, I actually kind of, the beginning part, all the character stuff, I actually bought into it. Into Tippi's little like adventure, tracking this guy down to give him the birds and the note to his little sister or whatever. That was all good stuff. So you get bought into it right away, I thought.
Mostly because women are actually that crazy? Is that why you feel that way?
Yeah.
Because that was nuts. I mean, when you look at that, she went out of her way to bring 2 birds and a card to his house that she snuck into.
A couple hours away. She broke into, not snuck into. That's breaking and entering. I don't care if the door's unlocked or not.
Took a boat across the water to
I don't want him to see me coming. So.
Stopped by and met the local school teacher, which is just kind of creepy. If it were a man who stopped by the school teacher's house to get the little girl's name, this would be a very different story.
Not everybody is raping kids in 63, okay?
I'm just saying there's a very hand that rocks a cradle vibe going on through a lot of this.
She was nuts. And then she just stayed with the ex-girlfriend.
What? She was aggressive. I don't want to say nuts because she came through in the end. She saved some kids. She's good people.
Yeah, if a woman did that for me, I would be so flattered. I'd probably marry her right then and there.
This is how toxic relationships start.
She sounds like a dream. Also, I mean, she looks like one. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
She is beautiful.
She's not hard on the eyes, no.
Yeah, well, anyway, so a guy, it makes sense. She's a socialite, like she gets away with everything. This one guy's giving her the run around, so she's got to stick it back to him. She seems a little bit wacky anyway. She's a prankster, they say, right? It's like it's all fits in her character.
The whole weekend, though, she stayed the weekend.
Well, they did ask her.
He's handsome.
Yeah, I mean, look at him. He's Rod Taylor.
He's not that handsome.
He is in 1962 or 63. He is, yeah, in the 60s.
He's an old-fashioned handsome.
It doesn't change the fact that she's crazy for staying there.
I don't. She's a woman.
And then the 2 crazy women.
You should know.
The 2 crazy women in the same house who are both interested in the same guy. That's just.
Well, he wasn't interested in both of them, so that's not fair for him.
Yeah, he didn't ask her to move there. Really.
Like, there was crazy everywhere in this movie.
If you look at it, every female character is nuts.
Yes.
Every single one. I think that's hysterical. I'm like, that is total 60s. Because if you made that today, there would be so many writing campaigns and everybody would be on social media going, you treat. But here you watch it, you go, you know what? It works for me. It works.
Jezebel would write Jezebel Salon write a 4,000-page article about it.
Yep, an essay.
It's not even really wrong, though. Like, I can actually see women in today's society doing something that crazy
Let me tell you.
to get a man's attention.
They do it on Facebook now.
Yeah, that's something I had actually said when I was rewatching it, is that is the equivalent of today with social media stalking. That's what that is.
Stalking might be a harsh word. You know what? She just broke into a guy's house. That's all she did. It's not.
And again, I would fall smack dab in love with her. Let me tell you.
I like a woman that takes charge. I get it.
Yeah. Are you kidding me? Plus, she got all that money. You know what I'm saying?
That didn't hurt.
Yeah.
You know, so it is one of those things that rewatching it, because I saw it as a kid and I've seen it many times, 20 times. But I was really paying more attention to like the details of it, because for this podcast, for the purposes, kind of what sticks, what doesn't stick. That really stood out to me. Like, wow, these women are really nuts, and everybody loves Rod Taylor. Like, Mitch is the coolest freaking guy apparently in California at the time,
or the only one.
And his mom even wants to make out with him.
I thought so too.
Yeah, his mom did. His mom wanted him bad. Yeah. He left an impression in that bird shop. Anyway,
he did.
Good movie. Mm-hmm. Is what I'm saying. I bought into the character drama beforehand. I was even a little like, oh man, we're already getting to the bird stuff. There's so much going on here.
Yeah, I want to see if Annie kills her. That's what I want to see if that happens, because she's
the birds don't show up in town. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
She ain't alive.
I don't know how believable the mom was, because she looked like Tippi with grayer hair. She looked the same age.
That's very rude to Tippi.
She didn't look that much older than Mitch. Let's put it that way. Lydia does not look that much older than her son.
No.
I mean, if you dyed her hair, they could date
be together. Yeah.
Like he looks significantly older than Tippi.
He's like Grandpa.
Character. Yeah, a little bit. It's that part is a little odd.
He's just one of those silver foxes.
Is that what we're calling it?
There's a lot going on when you guys watch this movie, huh?
You didn't notice these things.
I thought she looked old. Sorry, lady. I wasn't confused. I mean, she clearly wanted him bad, but
yeah, that was weird. In fact, actually, about like because the character stuff goes on for maybe 30 minutes before there's actually the first attack when she's coming back on the boat. I think
I think it was like almost an hour mark.
Was it really that long? Okay.
I checked it at some point because I was like, wow, the birds still have not really showed up. I think it was like 45 minutes is when the boat scene is.
Well, it got to like 45 minutes whenever that happened, like right before that happened. And all I kept thinking was, maybe the birds means the ladies. Maybe that's what they're referring to. Because at this point...
Was Hitchcock British, right? Or
yeah, it's Hitchcock. Yeah. He's British, so that works.
That makes sense.
What about you, Amanda? What worked for you in the original?
Well, I mean, everything works for me, but I am with Zach. I think that character drama was believable and you could buy into it. A lot of the reason is because it's something that I can actually see still happening today. I can see women being that nuts. And just the...
Aggressive. We're going with aggressive.
Sorry.
Yeah. I'm jealous of Mitch. There's no question.
Mitch has really got it going.
Yeah, my gosh.
Yeah, he's basically Stacy's mom at this point. He's that wanted.
I'm pretty sure even his sister wanted him.
I think everybody did.
She wasn't old enough. She's like, I can't buy after him yet.
Wait, what was Annie? Was it Annie's the school teacher's name?
Correct.
Right.
Yep.
She had a line where it's like she would give Oedipus a run for his money or something like that.
Yeah. That
was pretty funny.
It was pretty funny.
She had crazy eyes. I'm not talking aggressive eyes. I'm talking crazy eyes.
Okay.
That girl.
We've already, I think, talked on that a lot enough. What about the rest of the movie?
Women are crazy.
Well, just the concept. I like the concept of an animal that's being mistreated. And if you look at the Hitchcock trailer for this movie, he kind of makes jokes about it too, about how we disregard how poorly we treat birds. And this is kind of like their revenge. And I just love the concept of it. Who would have thought that you could get this gritty and gruesome with a flock of birds, like 19 flocks of birds?
If you were to move to a big city like Chicago, you would understand why we deride pigeons. Get them out of here.
Yeah, but I don't think they're that aggressive.
Not yet.
If they're taking eyeballs out or anything.
Not yet.
Not yet. That was really gruesome for any movie, let alone a 60s movie. I thought that was pretty gruesome. What I love most about, there's two things that I can pinpoint that I love the most about the original. One is that the first attack, there is no indication that it's coming. My God, I wish that directors today would learn from that simple step, which is she's just come back on the boat. She's all smiling and happy, and then a bird attacks her. There's no ominous music. Mm-hmm. There's no look at the bird in the sky coming, circling her head or anything like that. All the stuff that directors nowadays would have to do because they feel like we have to tell the audience everything. Hitchcock was like, no, we're just going to have a bird drop on her head. And it worked great. That's one of my favorite moments in the entire movie because it just happened. It just happened. There was no foreshadowing. And my other favorite part of the movie is that at the very end, it doesn't give you an explanation. So you don't know that somewhere a nuclear missile went off and ruffled the feathers of all these birds.
The radio signals are interfering.
Exactly. The birds are attacking. Now they're taking down the power lines. There was no real explanation as to what was happening. They were just having to go through it. And there's no ending. He even avoided using the end at the end of the film like they did a lot during that era because he wanted people to think this continues. This is not over. They didn't come up with here we found a failsafe. We found the nest. Now we just go to the nest and we destroyed the big bird and then everything, literally big bird. And then this whole thing is over. That doesn't happen. It just continues. They escape their situation, but the world situation or Bodega Bay situation is not fixed.
Resolved, yeah.
Plus, he wanted to leave room for the birds too, Land's End, to pick up the pieces of the storyline.
Obviously.
That was his grand vision. Little known fact.
Little wanted fact is what that is.
He wanted to pull a George Lucas, wait 30 years, and then you come with the sequel.
Yeah, and I had a hard time moving on to things that don't work or no longer work.
Can I jump in real quick with one thing I do love?
Yeah, go ahead.
That playground scene is so great, so masterfully done.
Which one are you speaking? Like
The one where she's smoking, all the kids are singing, and then the crows are just like slowly gathering on like the jungle gym,
and she doesn't even notice.
Yeah, she doesn't notice, and we see it, and they're just like slowly going up there, and then we finally see her watch one of the crows fly over there, and they're just on everywhere.
Yeah, I love that scene.
I've been thinking about that scene all day today. It's so good.
And they attack kids. I like that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good.
Sometimes they have it coming. Don't run away.
That song was
Yeah,
annoying.
why did you leave the school to run out where all of the birds were?
Well, I think it was they had windows. They were afraid, they were going to attack. I mean, I kind of got it. Now, would I have went that way? No, but I wasn't there. They didn't invite me. They were too busy looking for Mitch.
Mitch is all that matters.
Mitch is all that matters. I'm sure they were running to Mitch. That's probably
why the birds are so mad.
Yeah,
everybody only cares about Mitch.
This whole world is so focused on Mitch. All right, so what doesn't work for you guys? And actually, there are several scenes that I think are fantastically shot. I think that end shot is just beautiful.
Yeah, the end is very good as well, but there's something about the playground scene really got me.
Yeah, that was such a beautiful shot. Every film has at least one shot where you're like, wow, that's why you're the guy. That's why
it's the guy. It's my guy right there, Hitchcock.
Hitchcock, he's pretty good. Amanda, what about you? What doesn't work for you in the movie? Is anything not work?
There's not much about the film that takes away from it. Part of the beauty of a Hitchcock film is that it holds up throughout time. And even if there's something that maybe doesn't make a whole lot of sense in a film, it still is there. It's not like you want to take a piece out of it. Mm-hmm. You want to keep it together and keep it compact the way that he presented it to you, even if there's something that you would want to skew a little bit. So, and to me, I wouldn't want to change a single thing that he put together because this was his idea and his masterpiece. And
well, it wasn't his idea. I mean, somebody wrote
his masterpiece. Yeah. You know what I mean, though. And he doesn't have anything in there that takes you out of the film. You might have like a question of why are you doing this, like the school scene for me. Mm-hmm. Why are you leaving the school right now? But there's nothing in the film that I would want to erase or really alter in terms of how his film was put together.
Zach, anything doesn't work for you or doesn't hold up? I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is when the gas leak happens and the guy like throws a cigarette on the ground and explodes the whole parking lot. And then we cut to a shot of a bird flying in the sky, as though he had masterminded this whole thing. This guy, he knew that guy was going to throw that cigarette down. that maybe like that bird may as well turn to the camera, and gone.
I think it was more, hey, look, shiny lights, let's go there.
There was a lot of gas too that came out real fast.
Yeah, really, and it channeled so perfectly down the pavement to exactly the guy smoking the cigarette. Those birds really put their plan together. That was the only part where I was like, come on. What?
Well, to be fair, the birds were already attacking. They had already started because they attacked the guy who had the gas.
Well, this is the lead bird, apparently. This
guy, he's flying up with this guy. He's got the whole plan. It's all coming together. He's a Murdoch of these birds.
Oh, that's true.
Like if we poke it at a 45-degree angle on his gas tank, it's going to flow down look at the gravel. It's clearly going to go right to this guy, and I think that guy smokes. So I think we got a pretty good shot of blowing this thing up, guys. You want to give it a whirl?
And they caw.
Swoop down.
The only thing I had, like you guys said, I know we talked about it ad nauseum. I actually really do like the angle of the characters and how far out there they are because they're a little psychotic. Like everybody's a little nuts in this movie, and I kind of like that. Cathy is probably the only thing that really bothers me because it's kind of overacting to the nth degree. But it also is a 60s thing. I think most kids in the 60s acted like that. They reacted so dramatic to everything in those movies. So that didn't really bother me. But watching it now, I'm like, oh my God. Did they not have a Macaulay Culkin handy? Come on.
She did well in that car scene where she was traumatized and crying and trying to explain what happened. Mm-hmm. But I agree. She was over the top in terms of how much she wanted her to go to the party Why was she so invested in someone she
Because
just
everybody is a stalker
met.
in this movie. Everyone is obsessed with everybody else. It's weird.
You're not kidding.
No, Annie's obsessed with Melanie, and you've got Mitch is obsessed with Melanie, and Lydia is obsessed with Melanie. But
have you seen Melanie?
Yeah. I mean, I get it. Don't get me wrong. And also, I mean, Melanie's kind of obsessed with Mitch, and also obsessed with Annie, and also a little obsessed with Cathy because I mean, she has to make sure to write this out to this kid. And I don't know.
I don't think she initially cared about Cathy. I think that was her way in, other than the front door.
She's a prankster.
But
she's a jokester.
That's not a joke.
Cathy is Mitch's sister, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So mom waited 35 years to pop on another kid.
Oh, now you admit there's an age discrepancy.
That's fine. I was just the mom. She looks like she's 96 years old.
She does not.
She does not.
She
look
looks
96.
very youthful.
She's limping around, barely getting up the stairs.
Did you see her run out of that dude's house? She
curling
ran
up in a
out. She's
blanket.
like, whoo! After she saw the eyes pecked out. No 96-year woman could run like that.
Impressive she got a kid out. Maybe maybe it's secretly Mitch's daughter, and he has her raised by his mom. Maybe there's a whole backstory we missed out on.
There you go. That
put it all together.
And maybe that's why Annie moved there, is because it's their child, and she wanted to keep an eye on her.
But maybe Cathy got so attached to Melanie because it was almost an older sister girl.
That could happen.
And you don't want to hang out with Annie, the school teacher, because she's a psycho.
Did anybody ever check in on that pecked out eye guy? I mean, I can't remember if anybody actually called the police.
They did.
Okay,
yeah. Because Mitch was
checking, because she
talking
really
about
left the crime scene very
She
quickly.
did. She left that guy there, too. There was a guy standing outside, and she just dipped out on him. She just looked at him, and her mouth was open, and she was like, and then she ran away and left
Not
him.
your responsibility.
Could have thrown out a watch your eyes.
Those birds are in an all-out war, son.
Like a courtesy notice would be fine.
All right. Well, that brings us to should this movie even be remade, or should it be placed in don't touch status? Zach.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's got a no touch. Let's not touch any of Hitchcock stuff.
I'm with him.
I'm right there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Silly.
Across the board. And even the stuff we're making fun of, it's just, like, I really don't get bothered by any of it. Like, none of it really bothers me, except maybe Cathy, which is saying, "Oh, come on, come to my party." That stuff's a little.
I think
evil genius bird's a little weird.
I feel like it's pretty universal that people don't want to touch Hitchcock's films either. It's something that
Really? Tell that to Gus Van Sant, because apparently he did not get that memo.
Oh, you killed I was waiting for a Gus Van Sant joke. You ruined it.
You know what? He failed so epically, you can throw it out a couple times. But
for the majority, most people don't want to touch his films because they're looked at as so iconic. And so I feel like it's not even just us. It's a majority of people realize that it's a Hitchcock film. You should probably leave it alone because you're not going to do it justice.
Yeah, well, could you imagine the Birds movie a 2017 movie company puts out?
Ooh, well, you're going to love who picked up the rights. All right, so before we get to that, let's hear one more clip from the original, The Birds.
You all right?
Yes, I think so. What do you suppose made it do that?
That's the damnedest thing I ever saw. I don't know. It seemed to swoop down at you deliberately. Oh, you're bleeding, too. Let's take care of that. Okay? That's the girl. Come on.
What happened, Mitch?
Gull hit her.
A gull?
Once again, Land's End does not exist, so we don't talk about it. All right, so here's what we know about the intended remake. Currently in the works, Michael Bay
Oh, I knew you were going to say it.
bought the rights back in 2007 for Platinum Dunes, his production company. That's right, Michael Bay. They're going to be.
You know
you
what?
think that
Good.
explosion
Yeah, I was
is
just
cool
gonna
now?
Everybody's going to be blowing up from gas explosions.
Those birds are going to target an entire oil rig.
The military is going to be, you're going to see it from the military's perspective.
Absolutely. I hope Optimus Prime jumps down and helps. That'd be great. Well, and in 2014, a director was found in Diedrich Van Rooyen, but so far, that's the farthest they have gotten.
They can leave it there. That's fine.
They're still toying with it. Now, I think there's some things they can do with it, and we're going to come up with a movie right now. But it's
not going to be Michael Bay.
I just
kind of want to see that movie now.
I kind of want to see if it'd be birds just dropping barrels of gasoline.
It'd be so cool. He'd have like a falcon just dive through somebody's car and just rip out their eye.
Oh, definitely.
Just catch it. Well, the car explodes behind them for no reason.
Did anyone have a desire to see when the school kids were running and all of the birds were pecking at them to have them pick one of them up by their outfit and carry them away?
In Michael Bay's movie, it'll happen.
That'll happen.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna see their nest from that kid's perspective, and then they're gonna find a little buddy, like a little robot who raps or something silly.
A little rapping bird.
The movie's going to be over so fast, he's just going to throw grenades everywhere, and it's all just going to explode.
Ooh, pigeon with an Uzi.
I don't know. Michael Bay doesn't exactly make short films.
It would be 3-hour opus.
He's going to draw that bad boy out.
How many shots of the American flag can we get in here? Anyway, well, since this movie is getting a remake eventually, and as fans we always think we know the best way to do so, how should Hollywood remake it? Now, if you've never listened to our podcast, we always joke and talk about the original, but then when we remake the movie, we settle everything by a best of 3 vote. Each host receives 1 cut per episode to be used whenever they are extremely passionate about their idea. That means if it's going in a direction you don't like, you can yell cut and then go your particular way. Now, we're each going to kind of throw out our story ideas, and then we're going to converge and come to one movie. Everybody understand these rules?
I accept the terms and conditions.
Okay. Now, who wants to
Very official.
Who wants to throw their idea out first? Zach or
I've
me?
got it.
You got it?
I've got this one.
Okay, you start first.
Go, Mr. Confident.
We'll each throw our idea out.
I told you, Hitchcock and I go way back.
You do, since before your birth.
I think he died before you were born, I think.
I know what he would have wanted.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, all right. So I want to keep the small town.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is all gonna happen in one day, one night, and well, maybe not. No, actually, I scratched that. That was dumb. I hate that. New idea. It takes place over a few days.
Did you just alter? I thought you knew what Hitchcock wanted.
He slapped me on the wrist. He's like, "No, that's dumb. Stop that." No, originally I was thinking one day. That I forgot that I didn't like the one day. I remember now.
Okay.
The multiple day.
Are you sure Hitch wants this? Because I don't even know if you want this.
I've never been more confident. So I want it. I'm thinking owls. Okay, you following me?
Not so far.
So we're bringing falconry into this.
Only it's owls. The town, they don't have any other birds anymore. The owls have taken them all out. And at night, only at night, the owls come out and they attack people. So it's kind of this they're kind of trapped in this situation where every night these owls come and they're striking, and so it's almost like a conflict with these owls. It takes place over a few days.
What? Are you sure not one day?
Are you sure you don't want to? I'm convinced this is not an actual thought.
Are you? Yeah. Okay. Look, they can't all be winners, I guess. I like the owls. I like the idea of you're being trapped every night. And maybe they're quarantined into the city because the birds are crazy there. I don't know, a radio tower nearby is influencing their brains or something dumb.
Can owls attack?
Can seagulls? What are you talking about?
Okay, that's a good point.
Owls can be trained to attack, but usually they're particular animals or something that they are just doing it to eat.
I didn't know you were an owl expert.
I have a customer she has a falconry business, so she talks to us about it all the time.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh. She's offered for us to come out there and meet them and everything.
She's stupid. Anyway.
What is wrong with you?
I'm trying to talk about these owls over here.
All right, finish your story. I thought you were kidding.
Owls are smart. They could set traps and stuff.
Okay. All right.
Maybe they set up traps along the roadways in this small coastal town so people can't get out and they're just trapped and they're just slowly getting picked off every night. They keep trying to come up with plans and counterattacks during the day and they keep not working.
And so where would this go? Would this be just located in this one coastal town?
Yeah.
Or who would be involved?
Some people.
Some people.
Some actors we'll decide on later.
Some people.
I just want to say who.
Ooh. See, you can make quality owl puns for the entirety of this film.
Now, is this your serious idea? Because I don't want to laugh at it. If that's
you already laughed at it. It's fine.
No, I laughed at it because I thought you were joking at first. I didn't think you were serious.
You completely altered.
Well, yeah, no. That's why originally I was thinking of trying to make a whole movie in one night. Then I got really hooked on this owl idea.
Is there someone who's training these owls to do this?
No, did anybody train the seagulls? What are you talking? No.
Well, this is a different movie.
Well, I'm not going to explain anything. It's annoying.
So you're going to do the same thing where there's no explanation. It's just at night. So they're still going to have to attack homes and whatnot. Otherwise, people will never know they're being attacked because they'll just be sleeping.
Right. Yeah. Well, they're smart. They could they get in. Yeah. The little birds came in through the chimney, and the birds.
Santa can get through the chimney, so can an owl.
Well, they got big hands too, so they can just turn the knob. You could get some slowly turned knob.
There you go. Oh. They break and entering. They pick the lock.
How would you resolve it?
Everyone dies.
Okay. Easy as that? Everybody dies?
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really remember the birds too well. I thought they were all going to get offed at the end. I like the idea of the owls winning, to be honest.
I do too.
Maybe they're.
If you're gonna have all owls, I would like them to win.
You get down to our core character, like your core characters, maybe a married couple and their kid, and then the last shot you see, like they think they're safe in their house one last night, and last shot you see is like an owl inside of the house or something cool.
All right, I'm sorry. I apologize for laughing at
I appreciate the laughter.
Okay.
It's an inherently goofy concept of the birds.
Would it be more jokey, or would it?
So I'm glad.
What kind of tone?
Doesn't have to be. No, I didn't really think of it as too jokey. I didn't think it was going to be 8-legged freaks or anything.
All right, that makes sense now that I understand what you were going for, and I stopped making fun of it and I listened. Listening helps. That's what I find.
Okay, look, not every idea is I'm gonna.
No,
have,
I like it now that I stopped laughing in my head. I started to think about it. I actually like it now. So
Amanda,
who do you have? Sorry, so many. You can make so many puns. I like it.
So I would like to have it more modernized, but I want the lead actress to still have a very sophisticated 60s vibe to her. And I want...
Does that mean crazy eyes?
I want her to have just gotten out of college, and she went to college with this man, and they've recently been communicating now that they've finished up with their degrees, and communicating through FaceTime, messaging each other, things like that. And that's kind of where you get the modernization from. He got his degree in bioscience and is an entomologist, so he studies insects. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't know what all he's doing in that field, but since they've been talking and trying to rekindle their friendship and, possibly be something more, she decides to go out to visit him and spend the weekend out there. And when she gets there, come to find out, he's been creating an insect that eats other insects, but it doesn't attack humans in any way. And because birds have really high capacity for hearing, they end up hearing this frequency that's emitted from the insects that he's creating that the human ear can't actually hear, and maybe even have like a scene where his dog starts to freak out a little bit once they make that noise. And so that's what's drawing the birds in, is this...
So you want an explanation for this?
Well, you don't necessarily... You kind of have to piece it together yourself. So not necessarily are they pointing the finger and saying, this is what's figured it out. Mm-hmm. You just go to this area and they can't figure out why this is all happening because they're just insects. He's just trying to make something creating an insect that's very small, but can attack other insects and doesn't harm humans. Mm-hmm. So it's a very innocent concept. So the sound draws them in, and the birds are just psychotic because of it. We don't know why they're attacking people. They
like
still attack
Annie
people.
Psychotic, or
no, like
Cathy
they were
psychotic,
like they were in the birds.
Which bird's character do they most relate to?
I feel like this is going to be a BuzzFeed quiz. How crazy are you? But that's what draws them in. You don't know why they're attacking people, but that at least explains why they're coming to that area. But you still have to figure it out yourself. So her reason for staying, because that's one of the things with the birds for me, was why is anybody staying there? Why did you board up a house?
Mitch. This is why. Mitch.
And
have you seen Mitch?
It's the same concept. So he wants to stay despite the bird attacks, and they can't figure out why the birds are attacking them. But she wants to stay because he doesn't want to leave. He has his little insect creations, and he's in his childhood home that he grew up in, and he doesn't want to leave that behind. So she has to make that decision of, is she going to leave him and he's going to stay there by himself, because I want it to still be a very small town kind of area too, or is she going to stay with him? And she decides to stay with him despite all of this. But I don't want there to be a full resolution for anything, but I want it to be enough that we can kind of piece it together on our own that, oh, maybe this has something to do with it. But it still doesn't explain why the birds are attacking people. There's still no explanation for that. Only for why they're drawn to that particular area.
Okay. Are there any owls?
There can be owls.
There should be owls.
There will be owls.
I'm kind of stuck on the owl thing now.
Who will be there?
I'm telling you, owls are cool, man. I told you.
All right, so that's option 2. Option 3, here's mine. I want it to be global. I really do. But I've got a story for it.
Like a zombie apocalypse?
Like World War Z.
Kind of.
But with birds.
I want 3 different locations around the world. I want one, actually, just to pay homage to the first movie, I want it to be Bodega Bay, California. And then I want one in Australia and one in Japan. We follow 3 individuals and we treat it like a disaster movie, right? But without the dramatic overindulgence. We're not going to Michael Bay it. You know, it's actually still going to be kind of a small scale film, but just 3 different locations across the world. Each person, I would name them after the characters from the original movie. Bodega Bay would have Mitch and his mother and his own daughter named Cathy. So it'd be Lydia and Cathy would be his mom and daughter. You would have Australia would have Annie. That would be Annie. And in Japan, we would follow Melanie Daniels. She's a wealthy businesswoman there to broker like an international deal. The characters would all be members of the same family, though, this time, instead of having it all weird and confusing and kind of psychotic. Mitch and Melanie would already be married. You'd have Annie would be Mitch's sister studying abroad. That's why she's in Australia. And then we tie the characters together through phone calls and social media. So they kind of get a glimpse into what each one of them is going through. I think first we get a small attack on each one of their locations. Not them specifically, because I don't want this to be like Jaws the Revenge, but just their various locations. And then it builds up throughout, and we would escalate the attacks in different ways. And Annie would still die, because she died in the original movie. I think she should die in this one, while she's trying to survive, maybe in the outback or something, an Australian location of note. Melanie would have the biggest attack inside a huge Japanese business center, where birds, just smash through the windows and she's pinned and she's trying to get out. And Mitch and the family would be going through like similar issues as in the original film. They're more of a small town location. They're being attacked in their own house, their own beach house or something along those lines. And it would all end with Melanie chartering a plane to head home and seeing the runway lined with birds. And as she begins to take off, so do the birds in the same direction. Fade to black. That's it.
I like it. I like the concept of the different areas. I especially like Japan and Australia being included specifically.
It lacks owls.
No, I would now bring in owls. Here's what I think. I think we can mesh everyone. See, here's the thing. The only thing I don't like with yours, Amanda, is I don't want an explanation of any kind. That's my favorite. One of my favorite parts about the original Birds is that I didn't like that aspect of it. But really, what do you guys' vote? I mean, you can vote on your own. You can vote on either of ours. What's the vote for what direction you want to go to as a main direction?
I like the concept of yours, Aaron. I want to bring in Zach's owls, and then maybe for mine, if we still have it modernized and Melanie Daniels is still a sophisticated 60s kind of woman, then I'm fine with that. Because I just want to make sure that character type is still there. I don't want them to be very 2017 in any way.
Do you want her to be a prankster? Does she jump into fountains naked?
I want her to be fun and different. I don't want her to kind of be like a bogged down woman by any means. But I still want her to present herself in a respectful and sophisticated manner. And have that same kind of, maybe she even dresses a little bit the same. Maybe she has icons from the 60s that she looks to.
Okay.
Maybe even one of her idols is Tippi.
Ooh, there you go.
And so she has kind of like her room or her home, depending on her age, and it's kind of dedicated to her and some other 60s
They have a
actresses.
nice Hitchcock room.
Yeah. I think that would be cool.
And what about you, Zach? What way are you leaning?
You know, for once, I do like your concept, Aaron.
Wow,
It's
for
pretty-
once.
What's the time mark on here? Can we get that down?
Yeah.
Let's write
Except
that
they
down.
obviously it needs owls. There's no question. All of these ideas are terrible if they don't have owls. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like it.
Okay, well, here's what one of the reasons why I want it on 3 continents is because each continent, well, obviously, for international box office, you know, we got to think big.
Oh, you better have one in China then.
Yeah, well, let's just go with Japan because China's getting all the attention, and I think the Japanese are nice people. So
They are.
Each continent has their own breed of birds. So you could have multinational attacks, very, very diverse bird attacks. I think that's important in today's PC climate. I think
Yeah, you want to have an equal representation of birds.
Exactly. I think you could have a lot of different kinds of bird attacks.
Can we get a gay bird in there?
Sure.
What birds are prominent to Japan?
I don't know. I didn't Google it. They're gonna make me.
Japanese gull, the Japanese crow.
That's not how it works.
I think herrings, maybe.
Let's see. Starlings. There are lots
The
of
Japanese
birds.
sparrowhawk is kind of cool.
Yeah, there's a lot of birds that we can have, and we definitely need an owl attack
I
because
want to introduce our 4th member of this podcast, Google.
Exactly. There are birds in every continent that are specific to those continents. So I
Yeah.
think you throw them all in the mesh, and you have various attacks. And
Japanese owl, an Australian owl.
you're really stuck on this owl thing. This owl thing is taking you places.
This is going to have to be part of the motto now, like the tagline.
Oh,
yeah.
Whoo!
Who was behind it? Who was responsible?
Who will be next?
Ooh, I like that. Wayne, you listening?
He's going to have to do some owl whoos for this one.
All right. Well, I think we kind of have a movie. I don't know if you guys feel that way or not.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Will Wayne do his best owl impression?
Well, we'll find out in the Verity trailer. We'll find out if he is willing to do that. So I think we have a movie though. So 3 continents, same kind of thing. But
Did this happen in record time?
It might be record time. I think we talk more about the original this time, but we still have some stuff to figure out, like who's going to direct this masterpiece, this multinational masterpiece. I mean, I know Vin Diesel
Michael
would know
Bay.
the right guy, if we called him. Not Michael Bay. Zach?
His license rights are revoked.
Or Amanda, you got an idea for a director?
I like the idea of David Fincher.
Is it the bird name?
I feel like he has the same, I don't want to, no, hold on. I don't want to say that. I don't want to make that comparison. I feel like he has an adequate
Well, now we are riveted to
Well, I
find
was
out.
going to say he has the same atmosphere of quality work like Hitchcock, but I decided to
you
revoke
take that
that.
back, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, he handles the thriller well.
He does, and that's kind of where it's at. Is he has a lot of really good thrillers, and he's not Hitchcock, but he has Hitchcock-esque things about his film.
Mm-hmm.
Some would say Hitchcockian.
Yes.
Some would. What's in the bird box? Zachary, who do you?
What's in the cage?
That's better. That's better.
Who's in the cage?
Oh my God, Zach, what about you?
Thinking Gus Van Sant should get on board.
You can
Shot for shot this guy.
No.
Give Vince Vaughn the lead role for some inexplicable reason.
What are you doing?
He is not going to lure women to Bodega Bay. He's just not going to. Not Vince Vaughn.
Wasn't he in the Psycho remake? Am I crazy?
Yeah, no, he was. And he
Okay,
shouldn't
yeah.
have been.
Oh, yeah, Amanda
he wasn't
guess myself.
He wasn't the problem with that movie at all. He was actually fine, I thought. But it's the movie that was awful.
He's a weird guy. No, but seriously, I want Tyler Perry's The Birds.
Okay, we're not getting a straight answer out of Zach this time. But I do like that.
No, I like David Fincher a lot. It seems like the right kind of tone. Yeah, maybe him. Kind of seems expensive.
Well, you know what? It's our
We have our
budget.
own budget.
Remember, we had a $600 million Friday the 13th movie, so this
We
can
had
happen.
Meryl Streep.
We have Meryl Streep in our Friday the 13th remake, and
We can do anything.
it still is the way that they should go. The only person I had was Joe Ahern, who did an indie movie called B&B, which no one has seen.
Ooh.
Haven't seen it, haven't heard of it.
Yeah, it's a real small independent film.
I think that would be a great choice too.
It would, but let's go with David Fincher. Because
Adam Wingard.
We already liked. No.
What?
Not after Blair Witch. He doesn't get the option anymore.
Oh, I didn't see
Shame
that.
on him. Let's go with Fincher. Three across the board. We all agree.
All right, whatever.
Plus, there's an R on his.
Seems so obvious.
Yeah, but Fincher.
No, he's he is the best director for this kind of movie. That's true.
Yeah.
Dragon Tattoo. What a masterpiece.
So based on our remake, who's going to play the two leads? Which I would say would be Mitch and Melanie.
There are 3 leads, aren't there?
Well, 3 and Annie. Yeah.
Yeah, so we should probably get. There's
right.
gonna be 3 characters. We should probably do all 3.
Let's knock it out. Who's gonna be Mitch? Who has the perfect Mitch? Because this is a guy that women drive all over the place for.
Well, when you say that, my first thought is our boy Chris Pine again.
Ooh, I do like Chris Pine.
Yeah, I'm a Chris Pine fan. He hasn't been in one of our remakes in a while.
He's got a bit of that like rugged kind of older actor, handsome about him too.
I went younger because of where my storyline was. So I had Donald Glover because I really like him and I think he could bring nerdy.
You and everybody else in their 20s loves Donald Glover.
He's 33.
Yeah,
no,
but he's saying everybody in his 20s.
Yeah.
If he sneezes, everybody knows about it.
Really? I didn't know he was that adored.
In nerd circles, he is.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, see, and that was the thing is he kind of looks. My idea for Mitch's character was to be a little bit more nerdy because of his degree in bioscience. So I don't know that necessarily.
But we didn't do that. So
I know. I was trying to say if you would stop and listen. That it doesn't necessarily work, and I like the idea of Chris Pine, especially because of who I have for Melanie.
Okay.
Well, there we go.
All right, I'm on board.
He's got to be our most used actor in this
I don't
series.
care. Put him in
He's
everything.
so good.
He should be.
He was on Saturday Night Live, and I'm like, man, this show hasn't been this good in forever.
He's so adorable and charming, but he's very like
and he can sing.
rugged.
I want
he
a
can
musical
do
number. He could do a musical number called "Who" with the Owls.
That'd be so good. It's a shame nobody sees any of his movies, though.
Yeah, that is too bad.
Well, the 3 of us do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Die-hard Chris Pine fans.
We're keeping him employed.
I have a feeling people will see Wonder Woman, so he'll be all right. So who is your Melanie? Amanda, you said you have someone. So
I really like the idea of Blake Lively because I think she could pull Melanie's character off and be that sophisticated girl, but she's also really fun. And she has that charm about her.
Yeah.
And I could see her adoring Tippi in her life.
She's the Green Lantern lady. She was in the Green Lantern.
Yeah, and she was in
The Shallows.
The Shallows. She was great in The Shallows, yeah.
She's been in some other stuff, but you wouldn't have seen it, so we won't talk about it.
Not a big Gossip Girl fan?
I don't foresee Zach watching Gossip Girl.
Gilmore Girls, on the other hand.
Oh, wow. I love me some Gilmore Girls.
Such a good show.
You're not kidding.
Are you on board with Blake Lively?
Sorry, I got distracted. Yes, I'm fine. I'm fine with Blake Lively. Absolutely. I'm glad Amanda didn't go some obscure horror movie franchise star again.
All right. I'm on board too. Well, it doesn't matter. You guys overruled me anyway. Zach, you got anybody for Annie? The third and last one?
It's a bit of a curveball. I wasn't expecting to cast an Annie. You could go with Alexis Bledel from Gilmore Girls, obviously.
I do like that, actually.
Seriously, I really like that. She was in The Handmaid's Tale, and she's great in that show.
Great. I'm okay. Done.
All right.
That was so easy.
Lock it up. I think we should just make movies all the time. We know what we're doing. Hollywood does not. Michael Bay's had this thing for like 10 years, and he still hasn't cranked it out.
I still kind of want to see a Michael Bay Birds movie.
I really do too.
I don't know that I do.
I want to see a Michael Bay Psycho remake.
I want to see Michael Bay's trailer for a Birds remake.
The birds are exploding randomly. They're dropping like fireballs.
It would be so good. There'd be like some somber American song going on, and then
Can I tell you? And I say this as a Michael Bay fan. I like Michael Bay. I like his movies. They are what they are, but I like them. As soon as that was announced in 2007, every Hitchcock fan knows when this was announced. As soon as it was announced that he bought the rights, every Hitchcock fan cried. Like, literally cried. We just said, oh, no. No. No.
No.
No. But I would want to see the trailer.
Who got the rights?
Oh, Jesus. The owls. I still can't believe the owls are there. But I do think
the most important part of the movie, if you ask me, are the owls.
They're going to have a kick-ass night attack. Like,
yes,
kick-ass night
attack. It's
attack.
going to be so planned out. They're so wise, the owls.
Of course they are.
Have you seen Winnie the Pooh? That guy knew what he was doing.
You've seen me.
I wonder how many people have turned this podcast off already.
Zero. They were like, "Oh, that's a smart idea, Zach. The owls. Oh my god."
I bet you there was at least one person who said, "Aaron, shut up and stop laughing at that guy. That owl thing is great." At least
and
one.
You're my number one fan. All right, you're my favorite person listening to this show. You know who you are. Thank you.
All right, nostalgic moments. These are either subtle nods or direct nods to the original that our remake has to have. Anything you guys definitely want to have when there's a nod to the original movie?
Well, I think we established that we weren't going to a nod to the original, that there wouldn't be any sort of resolution or explanation. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the biggest nods that you could give to a Hitchcock film.
Okay, but anything specific?
In the Bodega, can we walk past that playground in the Bodega Bay part of the movie?
I think we do a recreated Bodega scene. What do you think? You don't want to take the chance of messing that up, though.
You mean recreating the playground scene?
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, I don't. Even Fincher, I don't know if I could trust him with that. Maybe you just have him walking by, like it's kind of like the beginning of the movie, and you just see like one crow land on it or something.
Oh.
Yeah, I like that.
That's perfect.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's perfect. I think I want to have somebody. I want to have the first attack be completely random, and we never see it coming.
Yeah, I agree.
Great.
Okay.
No ominous music leading up to that sort of event.
Well, that would be random.
I want no. Oh yeah, absolutely. I want it to be random. No music, no nothing. And I want obviously it won't be the Alfred Hitchcock, but I want an Alfred Hitchcock-ish cameo. I want someone that looks like Alfred Hitchcock to be walking his dogs at some point.
Like a chubby bald guy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's not too hard to find.
You just want to get Anthony Hopkins in the background?
Go ahead. He's done it once. Let's do it again. That works for me. All right. I think we have a movie, and I think that means, well, you all know what that means. That means we have a trailer presented to you and the vocal stylings of Mr. Wayne Henderson from MediaVoiceovers.com. It's MediaVoiceovers.com. Who is he? Wayne Henderson. Wayne, tell us about our new movie, The Birds.
Good evening. I would like to tell you about the latest film from the producers of Remake This Movie Right. It's about the birds and their age-long relationship with man. The story of man and his friends the birds is filled with many fine examples of ways in which these noble creatures have added to the beauty in the world. Plucking feathers out for a stylish new hat, or even Thanksgiving dinner, for example. Our latest film is a celebration of this treasured relationship as we span 3 continents and cultures of the world. The Daniels family, Melanie, Mitch, and Annie, are living life to the fullest when... Ow! Apologies. My canary just snipped at me. Now why would he do that? Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, the Daniels family. Split apart across the globe, our friends the Daniels will be forced to deal with an assorted flock in a most peculiarly foul mood. Why have they attacked? What do they want? Who can finally put a stop to the birds?
Yes, Wayne. Perfect, as always.
You're my boy, Blue.
Who? Wayne, that's who. Oh, again, you can find him at MediaVoiceovers.com. Before we close out that show, we're starting to do something new with the podcast, and that's we're going to share some listener memories of the film. Now, we just started it, and so it was very late in the going, so there's only a few. But I want you guys to know that from now on in our Facebook group at Remake This Movie Right on Facebook, we're going to start telling you what the movies are going to be at least a few days before we record those episodes, so you can share your memories of the original film that we're talking about, and hopefully that'll get you guys on the show a little bit, and we'll get some more nostalgic memories that maybe other people didn't hear.
I like it.
All right, so first up we've got Kyle Nolan, who said, "When I was young, I was bit by a duck/goose at a petting zoo and have been afraid of animals ever since. I think I would have PTSD if I lived at Bodega Bay." Okay.
Poor guy.
Yeah. Lucky
I don't
wasn't
think he's
an owl.
alone.
No. Gary Hicks says, for some reason I watched The Birds at junior school. I was terrified of gulls for years afterwards. What made it worse was we lived in a seaside town on the southeast coast of England. Ouch.
Your life is a waking nightmare. Get out of there.
It's going to happen. Leave. And lastly, Shane Edgar. This is my favorite Hitchcock film, and I used to watch it with my grandma at least once a year, and she would always tell me I need to marry a gal like Tippi Hedren. Aw.
That's sweet.
If there's a Tippi Hedren in this world, go for it.
There is.
But I think we're well, she's old now. She's like 98.
I think I'd still marry her. I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty.
Look, I probably wouldn't kick her out of bed, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just...
I don't know if she'd get in bed with you.
Yeah, I don't think so. Jeez, and why do you gotta make it weird?
Tippi, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should be. If you can find a gal like Tippi, Shane, you should definitely snatch her up.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun in that movie.
And she'll probably follow you. All you have to do is like insult her. I found out that this is what I decided was I've had this long-standing debate on the Hollywood Outsider that negging is a thing. If you insult someone, they're going to come back at you. And in this movie proves that even in the 60s, this was the truth. This was the truth. If you insult someone and you're mean to someone, they're going to love you and chase you across.
It's terrible.
She's a rich socialite, and this guy is probably the first guy ever to say, I forget about you. Mm-hmm. She going to remember.
And what does she do? Drives 2 hours, hops a boat, breaks into his house.
Aaron, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I've used this trick 100 times.
I am not part of this.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Remember, Wayne Henderson is available at MediaVoiceovers.com. It's MediaVoiceovers.com. Subscribe and review us via Apple Podcast, Stitcher, or your podcast app of choice. Amanda, where can people find you? Anywhere?
Recently, I was on The Hollywood Outsider as a guest, so you can catch that episode. It was episode number 272.
All right. And Zach, tell us about your new site. Is it up yet? Ever?
Yeah. You can read my musings on the games industry. WeLoveTheGame.com. It's official. It's finally happening. Kudos to me. Thank you for the applause. You can find us on Twitter at WeLoveTheGame. We're going to be doing lots of stuff. It's going to be great. Hope you come along for the ride. I'm also going to be on this show.
Sweet.
Social media, huh? Look at you go.
One. Relax.
All right. Well, you can find me at thehollywoodoutsiders.com as well as the Blacklist Exposed if you like the Blacklist, and Beyond Westworld if you like Westworld. And also here, Remake This Movie Right. Our email is remakethismovieright@gmail.com. It's remakethismovieright@gmail.com. This is a classic film, one of my favorites, and we had fun with it. So I do appreciate you guys having fun with it. I'm sure some Hitchcock devotees are offended and are probably already constructing their email. So once again, remakethismovieright@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter at RemakeRight, and the website is remakethismovieright.com. Thanks, everybody. We really appreciate you guys for coming by and doing this copy of The Birds, this remake, this beautiful film that is going to be hitting global movie screens in a year or so. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Ooh.
You're just going to beat that into the ground. All right.
It's great.
The credits have rolled on this remake, but be sure to come back for our next one, which I believe is going to be Con Air. That's right. Con Air. Remember that every film you love will get a reboot someday, and only you can remake that movie right.
Where was your passion at that?
Well, you want me to redo that?
It wasn't enthusiastic enough.
All right, hang on.
Does Con Air need a remake? It's all I could think about now.
Yeah, it does. Hang on, I got to redo this. The credits have rolled on this remake. Be sure to come back for our next one. And remember that every film you love will get a reboot someday, and only you can remake that movie right.
Yeah.
Is that better? Tell me,
who the man?
Tell me more about these owls.
Superman that hoe.
What even?
That was your plan.